Like we are live. The spinning wheel always takes a little bit of time, but welcome to the third day of the live Q&A for the Design Pattern Create Summit. I'm super excited that you're here. We have some amazing speakers. Well, we have Shannon with us today and maybe a few more joining us. So I just want to welcome you in to the live Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and first start off with Shannon. If you want to introduce yourself so that everybody knows who you are and what you're all about. Well, actually, before you do that, let me make sure we are live because that's always the kicker that you want. You don't want to start talking too much before we
Yeah.
go live. Okay. I got confirmation from my helpers that we are good to go. So let's hear about you.
Uh, Hi, I'm Shannon Nightingale, and I'm the co-founder of the LED Costume Academy. And I'm have been a freelance costumer working as a seamstress, as a dresser, all sorts of things in the world of costumes for the last 25 years, I think now. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm Christina Hadley-Dyke. I am a digital pattern maker. I also work in costumes in theater all around, mostly building costumes, not so much in the wardrobe, but I've done that as well. And I love to help people learn how to digitally pattern draft so that they can create their own amazing pieces of wearable art. The other thing I want to talk about today, let me pull up my notes here really fast, is we did get a question on how the leaderboard um, points work. And there have been some issues. And yesterday we were having issues in our community in general, just because the hosting system or the hosting platform had bugs in it that they said got fixed now. So I've been working with them to see if I can make sure I can get the leaderboard points fixed. And I'm basically going to be giving everybody a few extra thousand points so that we can get everybody up to speed because there was a few hiccups that very first day. But the way you can get points to get those leaderboard prizes is to visit the daily summit page every single day. It's always best if you can click that link that gets posted in the group because it's really hard for the system to track from the emails. Sometimes it will track from the emails, sometimes it won't. So you just want to make sure that you can go in and click that button and view the summit pages for the day. The next one that we have is there is a daily quiz that comes out every day. Just some fun little tidbits that happened in the interviews that we did that you can answer. Sometimes it's what was their favorite sewing tool, what was a piece of advice they had, and the like. So there's always going to be 4 questions a day and you can get 25 points for each correct answer that you give. Then you can also get an extra 50 points for posting a question for this live Q&A. Again, I wish we could have YouTube track it for us so that we didn't have the communication and everything, but you do need to post those in the group. There is a live Q&A section. That's the best section to post in. And ideally, if you can post on the day that you have the question for that speaker within that post, that's going to make it much easier for the system to track everything. Then you also get 100 points for doing your hello post. So we always want to know who you are, where you're from, and what you love to do, as well as what you're most excited about for this summit. Doesn't have to be long or super in-depth, but we always love to hear from you. And the other thing that I had somebody talk about the other day that I think I'm going to go ahead and add in, and you'll be able to catch up because I want to know what your favorite takeaway is from every day. So you can only get, did I say the hello post was 100 points? I'm not sure I did. Anyways, the hello post is worth 100 points. And then I'm also adding in a favorite takeaway for that day. Now you can only post that once a day. And you'll just have to say my favorite takeaway for day 1 was X and all that stuff. And we'll make sure to let you guys catch up on those points for your favorite takeaway. And I do also want to talk about, because of how the system is set up, when you like and comment on other people's posts, you are actually giving them points. You're only giving them one single point, so it's not a lot. We still want you to engage, we still want you to talk, but that also gets people to engage with you. So you want people to like and comment on your post as well, so you can really start getting those points. And we also do have a post of everything that you can go in the leaderboard. If you have questions about that, please don't hesitate to either post in the group or shoot me a message to ask any of those questions as well. I will be posting this in the group after the live Q&A, just so that you do have that reference as well. And I'm super excited to get this party started. Looks like we have Karen on YouTube from Dutchess County, New York. She's a tailor who's from home. Welcome, Karen. I am super excited you are here. Um, and we'll start with our VIPs. Do you guys have any questions that you are wanting to ask Shannon or myself? Or if you have a question for one of our other speakers, you can definitely post it. We can try to answer as best as we know, but we'll also want to make sure that we shoot it off to them so they can answer anything. Nope, no questions right now. Awesome. Well, I always love talking about wearable technology, and I know that Shannon here has lots and lots of fun with wearable technology as
Yes.
well. Um, I guess what would be like, what would you recommend as a really great first starter project for somebody?
Ooh. I think if you are like completely new to it, you would want to maybe start with like a either store-bought garment or something that you've created already, and then apply them. And you could buy something store-bought like at Michael's or one of the craft stores or even Amazon, and then just see how it interacts with the fabrics and the struggle with where to place your battery pack and access to your battery pack and all of that, because it's a different world than just regular costume.
Yeah. Have you ever used the sewable electronics from Adafruit or SparkFun?
Yeah, I have. I don't know if they're creating it anymore. It was like the LED yarn, and it looked um, like a piping trim that you would just stitch along inside, and it was really cool. I hope they still make it, but I'm not sure that they do.
An LED yarn?
Yeah, it's like a continuous line of LEDs, and then yeah, it's just you apply it the way you do piping in a garment. So,
Oh,
yeah.
got it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I have seen that. It's kind of like EL wire, but better because it's not as um of a power suck. Like EL wire takes
Yes, yeah, EL
so
wire
much.
takes so much power. Yeah. And also I feel like it's more flexible than EL wire.
Awesome.
Yes.
I'll have to take a look at that. We did have a question come in from YouTube that's
Mhm.
from Marie. How did you get started putting LEDs in costumes?
Um, yeah, my husband was a spotlight operator for one of the circ shows in Vegas, and they had LED costumes in their show, and they were running into some technical issues, and so they tasked him with troubleshooting and figuring all of that out, and then it just kind of came from there. And we're like, we could do this, together, and so we started that, and that was 12 years ago. So
And LEDs have changed so much in the
yeah,
last
even in just the
12
last 12
years.
years. Yeah.
Like even in the last like 5, I feel like it
Yeah,
keeps changing.
yeah. The technology is always advancing.
Yeah, and it gets smaller and smaller and
Yeah,
smaller,
yeah.
which is great because then
Teeny
you can
tiny.
hide them more and
Yes,
more and
yes. And
more.
then it's just more of a reveal to the audience.
Yeah. We did have a question from one of our VIPs. Christina, can you explain a bit more about what you do? I'm new on this end and it's confused me. Yes, of course. So I'm a pattern maker, but I do everything digitally. And so I use mostly a program called Clo 3D to actually digitally draft patterns. And I'm actually doing a live drafting for the entire summit tomorrow at noon. So tomorrow at this time, we're going to be actually doing a live drafting together. I've been kind of planning out and working together, and my husband asked me, he's like, "Oh, so are you going to put up three pictures in the group and have people vote on what you're drafting?" I was like, "I wasn't planning to, but I guess I am now." So we'll see if we can get some votes on that. But yeah, so I will be drafting tomorrow, so you'll be able to see a little bit more about what it is. But basically, I do a lot of flat patterning, and you can actually do draping in Clo 3D. It's a little bit more
Oh,
convoluted, but it also just takes practice, just like the real thing. So I normally take an image, either from a designer I'm working with, something in my own head, something I see that I want to alter to make fit better. And then I will use flat patterning techniques to actually recreate it in Clo 3D. Then what's also really great about Clo 3D is you can then seam everything together and see it on an avatar, kind of like you would in a video game. So I can see it on an avatar before I actually sew it together. It's one of those that's really cool and of how it works out, because then you can check a little bit of the fit, you can check a little bit of the drape, you can see if you want to change some of the design elements. The one thing that I always say to people is people are like, "Oh, now I never have to sew a mock-up together at all." And it's like, it's not there yet. You still need the mock-up. You still need a little
yeah.
bit more work and everything. However, it is getting better and better, but you still will need the mock-up. You will still need those tests. It just will help bring down the amount of time that you want to, or that you might need to, or the amount of mock-ups, maybe not the time, but it's the amount of mock-ups you might need to do, because you can change that avatar to any size you want, so that it fits you exactly or whoever you're working with, and then you can actually fit it on them as best you can. They have fit maps and everything to actually help give you guidance on whether you need to make it bigger or smaller. And I do see is the live session on the calendar. It is not on the calendar yet, partially because during the summit, I've been going through a move. I've been moving houses. So I'm currently surrounded by boxes,
Oh
and
no.
that's also kind of why my internet sometimes seems to go. We have not gotten our internet fully working and fixed. Apparently, we keep having to work with them. So it is not quite on the calendar. I will make sure it gets on the calendar today. It was mostly one of those sessions I had always planned to do, but I had to wait and see because there were so many other factors up in the air. So unfortunately, it's not on the calendar yet, but it will be by this afternoon because I am ready for it. We're ready to go. Yeah, and I hope to see you there. And I will be adding that to the VIP. If you guys want to jump on the Zoom, you'll be able to see it that way, and you won't have to look at it on YouTube as well. Awesome. Then we got Stacy on YouTube. Is there a good resource for comparing the 3D programs? Stacy, I'm assuming you're asking like whether Clo 3D or Marvelous Designer, or like Optitex or Turka or Gerber. I mean, there's so many out there. Um, I don't know of a full-on resource that kind of compares them all. I'd have to look up for one. It really just depends on what exactly you're looking to do. So I have gravitated towards Clo because it is more pattern making specific, or pattern making um, focused, whereas Marvelous Designer is a little bit more focused on like the animating and the creating for like video games. They are sister companies, so they actually work really well together. And they do talk, they do talk to each other. So it just kind of depends for those two. Those are the main two differences between those. Once you get into any of the other programs, all the ones that I've really seen and have researched, that's where the prices jump quite a bit. So that's just something to be aware of. Like if you're not actually doing it professionally for freelance or professionally for some other company or anything, that's where I would recommend. Now I know Sue Field just joined us. She also drafts. I don't remember which one she drafts on, but she drafts on one of them. So I'm gonna actually
Hello, can
have
you hear me now?
Yes, I
I am
can.
so sorry for the lateness.
Oh no, you're fine.
I've just finished working. I thought I'd finish earlier, and yeah, it's UK time zone here.
Yeah. So
Um,
it's
well,
pretty
it's
late.
it's just gone 7. Yeah, it's late to
Okay.
finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, will
yeah.
you introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about what you do, and then we just had somebody ask about the 3D patterning programs.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so I'm Sue Field. My business is called Fieldwork. I have a small range of sewing patterns, which are mostly sort of aimed at beginner sewers and young sewers, but anyone's welcome. I'm a professional pattern cutter, so I've been making patterns for about 40 years for companies, big brands in the UK mainly. And I've been freelancing for various companies for the last sort of 15 years. So yeah, I work from the Isle of Wight, which is at the bottom of the UK. And most of the companies I work for are in London, but I work remotely. So I do use pattern cutting software. I've got a program called Lectra, which is a industry program. It's like one of the big ones. And that means I don't know if you can see behind me, I've got my board there with a pattern that I'm working on at the moment. So that's actually part of a sleeve. And I tape it to the board, and then I can digitize around it. So I can just use a cursor to input points all the way around. Then it pops up on my screen and I can work digitally on the pattern. So for this company, I've just literally got to put a pattern that they've done into my system, check it all over and get it ready for production. They're waiting for the pattern to go into production, probably in Morocco, I think. So yeah, it's quite often I have to do things just like that, turn it around really quickly. So I'll probably be working on this one for the rest of the evening. Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking some time to
That's okay. Thank you. And I'm just sorry I was a bit late. Yeah.
that's okay. So when you use Lectra with I've always wanted one of those mats to
Yeah,
input
it's
and bring
amazing.
anything in. Is it one of those specific mats where you have like a very specific mouse and then a mat that you then?
Yeah. So it's huge. It's this whole table behind me. I don't know if you can get a feeling of how big that is, but I'll show you so yeah, it's my table. And my mouse is that.
Yeah.
So there are various codes that I have to give. It's very simple once you get used to it, but like a C is for a curve point, a 2 is for an end point. So you have to know, or a notch has got a 6. So, and then you've got a little cross in the middle of this part, which you line up with the edge of the pattern as you go round. And you can mark any points that are in the middle as well. And they all just pop up on my screen, hopefully. And then I can just work on them.
Oh no, did I?
Really, I'd say having the software it doesn't do anything really for you, as in, right, make me a pattern. It's like having a big table and scissors and everything in a computer. So you still have to have the same skills, and you still have to know what you want to do to that pattern to create something from it, or it will be as accurate as the person using the software. So still got to have all the same skills, really. But it means I can email a pattern tomorrow and it will be in a different part of the world.
Yeah.
Today.
AI is not fully coming to take your job yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah, it's one of those that there's definitely things that AI can help with for sure.
Yes.
But it still comes down to you have to know the knowledge and you have to you still have to work
to
with
have
it.
those skills.
Yeah. We had a question from Fran. Will you repeat that board name and the software?
Yeah, sure. Lectra is the company. They're a French company. They are one of the main CAD systems for making patterns. The software that they supply me is called Modaris, Modaris, and that is literally for making patterns. And then they've got other bits of software for laser cutting in the factory, for grade. Well, I can grade on mine, but there's add-ons to it for grading. For marker making, to make sure that you're utilizing the fabric for production as best you can. So they've got lots of different software, but Lectra is the parent company. And they have recently bought one of the other big ones, which is Gerber.
Oh.
So Gerber are now, I think Gerber's American, I think. And they are now owned by Lectra. So it should all, hopefully, I can't use Gerber at all. I've tried, but you would think you could cross over from one to another, but it is so different. I'd have to retrain so hopefully in the future they'll start to merge a bit and take the best of both to, make it a bit easier for everyone to work for different companies.
Yeah. I was originally trained on Optitex.
I've heard of it. Yes, I've heard of Optitex.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I loved that one. That one was really great. So yeah.
And what are you using now, Christina?
I use Clo 3D.
Clo 3D. Yes, I'd love to I'd like to try it.
I love it. If I could afford one of the larger programs, I would, but
yeah,
I gotta be making a little bit more scratch and using it a little bit more to be able to.
Yeah, well, it looks amazing. I love what it can definitely. I think you can see what you get an idea of what the pattern's going to look like much more quickly, don't you? You can go into
very
3D
visual.
a bit. Yeah.
Very, very visual. We do have a question from Stacy that says, "What is the difference between Metaris and AccuMark?" Did you go over that?
Yes. So AccuMark is the software that's owned by Gerber. So two different companies. So that's what I mean, Gerber and Lectra. So Lectra have Modaris and Gerber have AccuMark. So that's the two main ones that, if I'm looking for a job, they want one or the other, usually in the UK anyway. So yeah, that's the one I can't use.
Changes up all the time. And you find that they're very different to use, right?
Yeah, 100%. All the functions are different. It's almost like you work in a slightly different, your brain works in a slightly different way. For me, all my tools are logical. I can pick up, I can cut, and it's like I'm working on like I said, on a table, but on my screen. Whereas the Gerber AccuMark, when I've tried it, I've found that I have to think in a slightly different way. I have to think more like somebody who's perhaps more used to who's come at it from a different way. It's more computer sort of friendly maybe, but less pattern cutting friendly. That might be somebody who uses it every day will probably say the opposite. But yeah, it's hard to know when you're not used to it, isn't it? But I found it tricky.
Yeah, for sure. And does Lectra have a 3D aspect as well?
They do. I don't have it.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. But I also notice a lot of companies that are looking for professional pattern cutters. They ask for, say, Lectra experience, which I've got, and Clo 3D to do the 3D part. So I think Clo is taking the lead on that side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the one thing I am very glad I started learning Clo 3D a while ago, and it's just the amount of updates and upgrades that they're doing I feel like I'm updating it all the time, and learning about new bits and baubles that are coming out of it. So that's always fun.
Amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see here. Let me check the group. Sorry, I have to check multiple places to make sure I'm finding all the questions, see if anything has come in. Okay, not yet. So, Shannon, I know we talked a little bit about this when in our interview about like picking those right materials for the LED costumes, but I feel like that might be something that we could maybe enhance on a little bit more of like, how do you make sure that you have like a strong base, and how do you pick out those materials to actually create some amazing garments?
I'm so sorry, first of all, there's a lot going on. I had to move the rooms where I'm at. So there's background noise. But it really varies on the project, like and how much you're trying to emit and how much you're trying to conceal. Yeah. I do talk about it more in the VIP the video, but yeah, it's usually you want something that's like structured underneath to be able to support the weight of the the hardware that you're working with, but then you want something more sheer on top to be able to allow the light source out. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's always the trick between the two is how do you conceal those lights and yet still let them shine
Yeah.
through?
And it varies so much project to project because of that. Yeah.
What sort of projects are you working on?
I'm sorry?
What sort of projects are you working on?
Well, right now we're working on like tutorials about the stuff we've already been doing for we've done various costumes from different shows in Las Vegas and also like stuff that filters more into fashion.
Right. Amazing.
We had a question come on. How heavy can the LED costume get?
It can get very heavy depending on the amount you're using. We created an umbrella once for a costume and we had too much on there and it just cracked the LED or the structure underneath. The LEDs cracked it. So it's it's you have to troubleshoot basically every project you work on.
So, what were you trying to achieve with the umbrella? Like,
We were
were
creating
there
like a rain cloud
okay.
sequence with like thunder and lightning, and then yeah, just with all the elements on it. It worked great up until go time, and then just I mean, it
Oh
was
no, go
yeah,
time?
yeah, but yeah, yeah. But you know, you learn more from your failures than you do your successes.
Oh, that's probably like the best quote. Because man, that is so true.
Yes.
Because it's like, yeah, yeah, it's one of those pieces of advice. Oh my goodness, I can't talk. I wish I would have actually listened to when I was young, like even in high school.
Yeah,
Um, that it's, because at that point it's like a failure, it's the end of the world and everything, and it's like it's really not because there's so much potential for it, and there's so much more that you can
absolutely. Yeah,
learn from and yeah,
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So I know when I was talking with Sue, we talked a little bit about sustainable. How do you find with LEDs? Is there a way to be sustainable with so it has any sort of sustainability? Oh yeah, no, that was for you, Shannon.
I'm
With
so
the
sorry. I thought
LED.
it was for Sue. I'm so sorry.
Well, yeah, we had just talked about that, and I was thinking with LEDs and everything, like, is there a way to make it sustainable?
I mean, as of right now, I feel like the best way is to repurpose your LEDs in like another project. And then, you know, Yeah. And if you can choose like rechargeable packs as opposed to ones that require like alkaline batteries, that's what you can do. But it's not as advanced as I would like it to.
Yeah, that's
It's getting there.
always, yeah, it's always the give and take and everything.
Absolutely.
So, Sue, when you were first learning how to digitally pattern draft,
Yeah.
like, what was the hardest thing for you to rewrap your mind around? Because we were talking the other day, like how you have to kind of think about it a little bit differently from when you're hand drafting.
Mm.
Do you remember like what was like, did you have anything that made it
I
switch
think,
or
yeah, at the beginning, I do remember, because obviously I worked manually for a long time. So working on card, really, mostly card and paper. And then digitizing patterns in and working on screen with the patterns, I would be constantly printing out what I'd done. I just didn't trust it. I put something in, digitize it, print it out, lay my pattern on top, check it, change something, print it out. It wasn't very sustainable at the time. I just didn't trust what I was doing. And I don't know, just over time, once you've done it enough and you start to realize, yes, that is exactly the same, then now I rarely print actually. I've got very few patterns unless I'm actually going to cut something out and make it. I've got no patterns around me anymore. Whereas I used to have rails and rails of patterns in the room. But so I think that was the main thing, the trusting. Trusting what I was actually doing was correct.
yeah.
Storage.
Yeah, storage is great.
Making sure that I've saved things. Not not do all that work, forget to save, and then it's just, I've got no backup or I've lost it all. So, or not being able to backtrack enough to work out where I went wrong with something.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
quite good to keep saving versions of, so that I can then compare and check. So I think that's the main thing. When you've got a physical pattern in front of you, you can lay it out, you can check it, you can make sure everything matches, and you can feel it, can't you? It's just very obvious. But when you're on screen and everything's tiny, you have to zoom right in sometimes. And I do remember working for one company where they had a laser cutter. So my pattern would go straight to the cutter when nobody printed the pattern off at all. It just went email to the factory. They'd make the first sample with cutting by laser. And I had accidentally left a tiny little dot right on the chest where the pocket might go, but it wasn't going to be a pocket. I'd left this little dot, and of course the laser cutter just went straight through it. So this first sample, luckily it was a prototype sample, so we could still use it and work, look at it. But yeah, it had this little burnt dot in two of them. So yes, that was my fault. I didn't notice it. But
Yeah, for sure. That's always, you gotta balance that. The other thing we were talking about the other day was, um, do you believe somebody can go straight into digital pattern cutting learning, or do you think they need to do some hand first?
I think they could do the digitizing. I think that's a really good first job, is to digitize, say, paper patterns into the computer system, so that you're getting used to seeing the patterns, you're getting used to what's important and checking. But I think to actually make new styles, make new patterns, alter patterns, you need to have a feeling of it in real life. I think you need to be, it's really hard to just go straight onto digital pattern cutting with no experience of manual pattern cutting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I feel like if you did, you'd still have to be printing off and doing those mock-ups to see why
Yes.
it's not working or what's the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's like specifically like with Clo 3D, they'll make a garment fit the avatar, whether it's wearable or not. They'll just stretch the fabric.
Right.
Well, it's not
Yeah.
even fabric, they'll stretch the mesh.
Yes.
to make it work. And you're like, oh yeah, that looks great.
That looks
Without
fine, yeah.
knowing that,
Yes.
no, that won't be okay.
No, and it's also your eye getting used to looking at proportions on screen is different to how something is. It takes a lot of practice, I think, to get used to judging it quite right. Whereas if you're working on a stand and you can hold a piece of calico or paper up to the stand, you can get a feel of what it's going to look like on a real person. Yeah, or even holding, if it's for yourself, holding it up and looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Whereas on the screen, it's not so easy.
Yeah, for sure. We did have Fran say in our VIP that she's going to embroider the "you learn more from your failures than your successes." Yes,
Good
I
one,
love
actually.
it. We all need a little patch or something to remind us of
I
that.
think I might put that on my wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
true.
And we got a question from Marie R. Shannon, what is your design philosophy for wearable tech, and how do you prioritize usability and aesthetics? I've always been curious.
Oh gosh. I mean, when hmm, I'm not sure how to answer that, how to approach it. It really, like, it's a project by project basis, and it differs whether you need, it's going to be for like one performance or it's going to be for repetitive performances, and your approach in that, similar to how you like a pattern maker would in a costume shop when handed a sketch, like all the different variables you need to consider. Is the performer standing and delivering a monologue? Are they dancing? Are they, is there a fight scene? Like, and that just is the basis for where you go in terms of your fabrics and your materials that you use. And so I feel like that's true about the LEDs that you use as well.
Yeah, it's always the few times I've done it, I guess professionally, and I've been paid to do it instead of just making something fun for myself. It's always that also that you always have to have kind of that mock-up to figure out what it is and how it's going to work to get
Yeah.
the aesthetics right, because
Yeah.
you could have this grand idea and then you
Mhm.
test it out and the aesthetics just don't
Yeah.
hit home.
Yeah.
So that's
And it's and once you get the lights on it, that changes the design completely, and how you're approaching it. So troubleshooting is just very, very necessary.
yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably rename this live to "Embrace Failure" with
Yes.
because it's sometimes the best way to go is just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. And then that's been most of my LED experience, is just, testing out new things and figuring out what works and why what works and what doesn't work and how to apply that to the next project. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Awesome. So, double checking for some others. So the other, Sue, I was going to ask you, have you ever tried to do draping on the computer?
Oh, on the computer.
Yeah, because I know you showed everybody how to drape a collar.
Didn't I? I do. I can't really drape on the computer because mine is literally like a flat table without, like you with Chloe, you've got an avatar. I haven't got that.
Yeah.
But I like to actually sort of manipulate the pattern. So you can slash and spread, you can pivot darts and things. You can do all of that kind of thing on the screen.
Yeah.
So it's just the same as if you were doing it on a table. But it saves you cutting it out and tracing it off, cutting it out. It's very quick. You just pick up a piece and it's retraced.
Yes.
Yeah, but if I drape on the stand, which I do regularly, like I said in the collar demo, the next step to that would be to get the calico on my board and digitize straight from the calico, and then I've got that on the screen, and I can tidy it up and make sure it all fits back together with the block. So I can combine flat pattern cutting, draping, and digital pattern cutting all together, which is my favorite, really, doing it all, having the variety.
Yeah. And I know your free gift is that learn how to drape a collar. And that's coming out on Friday.
Friday, yes.
Yes. I was just like, wait, what day is today?
Yes.
So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to check back on Friday so you can get Sue's free gift. But what do you find that beginners sometimes have issues with when they're first trying to drape a collar? Like, do you have any tips or tricks you could give somebody like to overcome some of those challenges?
I think when you're draping with fabric, I think there's a couple of one really simple thing is just think about your pin direction. When you're putting a piece of fabric onto the stand and you put a pin, you just put one pin in, you're not going to pin in and out, just put a pin in. You want to make sure the fabric doesn't move about still. So you pin away from the direction that you are going to sort of stress, away from the stress, and that stops it moving. Or if you can't do that, put two pins in, one each way. And that means your fabric is then stuck in the position you want it to be. Because if you don't, then you're going to have, as you're doing it, it's all moving about a bit. And then secondly, as you work your way around a collar or whatever you're doing draping, you'll find points where you can't get the fabric where you want it. And just remember to trim off your excess fabric, and it just releases the fabric to maneuver around the 3D shape that you're trying to create. So yeah, it's that constant little bit of sort of snipping to the line where you're going to actually sew, and the rest is excess. So you can trim it away or slash it to release the edges.
Yeah, I remember when I first started draping, I sometimes got a little bit too rambunctious, I guess, with my scissors, and I would sometimes
it's easily done.
cut a little bit too much away at first, and then be like,
you can always stick a little bit in though if you've got a gap. Put a bit of fabric in there, and then
repin it together and
repin it. That's the fun of it.
Yeah, for sure. Stacy on YouTube asks, can you drape in Clo 3D? Do you have any tutorials on how to do that? You can drape in 3D or in Clo 3D. It is a little bit more work than it is with hands because you have to use pins and you have to use different tools and everything. I am still trying to get the hang of it myself, so I don't have any tutorials on it yet. But I'm hoping to get some out this summer on draping in 3D. I'll probably just go live some Saturday and drape something. But it is a process. It takes time to kind of work within the world and get the fabric to kind of move where you want it to move and what you want it to do. But it is a really cool feature. It was one of those things that I was so curious about for so long. And I worked with somebody who was teaching me how to do it or showing me how they did it really, and teaching me what their thoughts on it were. I'm like, this is great. And then of course you take it and change it a little bit for how you actually drape or how you actually want to manipulate something. Because I always find that everybody drapes a little bit differently and probably even patterns a little bit differently. I don't know what you guys have. Do you feel like that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of, we've got a lot of rules, but I think really it's about achieving what you want to achieve, and however you get there, it doesn't really matter as long as you get there. Find your own way sometimes is the best, isn't it? And just it's good to give people guidance and tips and that could help, but I don't really like being so rigid to say that you can't do that. that way, or it,
Yeah.
you know, it's playing, isn't it? And trial and error, a lot of what we do.
Yeah. And it's sometimes the people who question, I find I sometimes have students say, well, why do you have to do it that way? And it's like, well, you don't have to do it that way. This is what makes most sense for
How
me.
I do it. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, they're like, well, this makes more sense. Can you look at how I'm thinking about doing this? And you walk through it and you're like, that's a really amazing way to do that. I never even thought of doing it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. You never stop learning.
Yeah. From everybody. So that's, I know I say this like all the time, but that's why I love these summits, is because I get to talk to so many amazing people and see so many amazing people's projects and what they're working on and everything. And it just makes me excited and makes me want to create more and get my sewing machines out of their moving boxes and get sewing. So that's the one nice thing about being able to pattern on the computer, is I can just have my computer out and be like, I need a break. I'm just going to pattern for a little bit. Awesome. I know. So Shannon, I do know that you talked about some tips on maintaining LED costumes in our interview, but would you maybe elaborate on that just a little bit for somebody who maybe hasn't seen the interview yet? What's the best way to clean those electronics?
I mean, the ideal thing is to be able to remove the LEDs easily and put them back in. That always requires a lot more work before more work into going into the construction of your garment. But you know, otherwise, cover things with plastic and spot clean. Yeah, vodka spray is always a good one too. Deodorize.
So in the costumes you worked with, how often do you find that it's something that they can remove versus something that it's spot cleaning?
More often than not, the spot cleaning. Yeah, because it's just, you know, time is of the essence, and it takes more time to make it fully removable. Yeah.
Because you might
You can have like, oh, sorry. If you
you
can
might
have like
have
a foundation garment that protects the body or protects the garment from the body underneath, that's always ideal too.
Yeah, those are always good for costumes.
Yeah, in general, absolutely. Yeah.
It's one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is how many layers actors have when they're on stage, like how many layers they have on, even if it looks like they're in a bra and underwear. Like there is so many layers.
Yep, the illusion of it. Yeah,
for sure. Awesome. Well, we do have about 9 minutes left. Let's go back in and refresh, make sure we don't have any questions come in through the group. Okay. Looks like we're doing well. Do you guys have any questions for each other while have a few others pulled up here, I think. Too many tabs open again. There we go. So, Sue, when you're working with like either a new design or maybe one of your fashion brands, how do you find the collaboration works in between the two? Is it a really good back and forth, like, or is there, like, how does that collaboration work?
Generally really well, I think. Yeah, I working as I do, I tend to be, you know, I'm not with the designer. So, I mean, sometimes I am. So if I'm teaching, I'm working with a student, but they're working on the pattern with me. So that's a bit different. But generally, I'm here and they're wherever they are in the world. And they will email. We'll hardly talk. We generally email. We might have the odd little Zoom call, but very rarely. So I'll get some emails with some sketches and I'll get working on them. And then I will send if I make a toile here, I'll take a few photographs and email those across to the designer. And then they'll email me back with some comments. So it's all very pleasant. You know, we say, hey, did you have a good weekend? And and yeah, it's quite nice in a way, because we don't have, you know, that if they don't like something, they just tell me very politely. It's quite a nice way to work. And then every now and then I might have to go and visit, and then we have fittings and
Yeah.
yeah, not often though.
Okay. So do you sometimes have fit models near you that you can do a fitting close
No,
by?
no, not really. I've got my daughter who's very handy, so I quite often try things on her, but that's just for me, really. They will make samples and fit them wherever they are, so in their studio, and then I will get photographs of what they fitted. So it's not, you know, it's not the ideal way. Ideally, I'd get my hands on the garment and be able to pin it myself. But most of the designers that I work with, they're really quite clear about what they want and quite capable of explaining to me that they want, you know, the waist a bit smaller or this, that, and the other. And they'll send the samples to me to check. So I'll quite often get samples posted to me.
With all the pins in it?
Quite often, yes,
Yeah.
with pins in it, yeah, and notes to tell me what they want changed. So yeah, there's a little bit of to-in and fro by post as well. Yeah,
Yeah. So lots of communication by email. That's something
definitely.
important to.
Yeah, and I prefer that in a way to doing like I've tried with some of my clients, like a Zoom fit meeting, or I feel, because I'm working for lots of companies, it's better for me to have notes that I can then refer back to, rather than sort of chopping. Do you see what I mean? I can then say, I've done what, you know, if there's a query, I can go back and say, that was what you requested on that date. And I can show them, because sometimes they might say, why have you done that? I'm saying, well, you did ask me to do that. I can prove it. So I quite like an email trail for that, just to look back and make sure I have done what they've asked me to do. Yeah, it's quite handy.
That makes a lot of sense, because I'm used to working with designers more face to face in theater.
Yes.
So
and that is what I'm used to, you know, previously when I lived in London and worked with working next to a designer, and you're really like their hands, like creating what they want, aren't you? They've got the ideas and you're working with them, next to them, more or less. So I like both ways, but I'm used to this now.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like a bad way to go, where you can kind of have a little bit more paper trail and a little bit more freedom.
And I can also, I feel I can sort of give more advice in a way, because the type of people I work with now, they're quite small brands, so not many, you know, it's not great big giant companies anymore. It's quite nice that they appreciate my advice too. So if I've got an idea, something's not working quite right, I can suggest something, and it's, you know, it's a collaboration then. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. I love when you can you feel like you can add to what they're looking for, to actually give them what they want.
Yes.
Because I do find sometimes when they don't always know exactly, and they're relying on you to help get to a few steps ahead so that they can actually get what they're needing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's the aim, is to just try and achieve what they want. And if they don't know what they want, try to help them work that out.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I had somebody to help me know what I want when I'm just sitting around.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. There's definitely times where I'm like, I have all, everybody has so much going on and everything. It's like, okay, here's my to-do list. What's the
Yeah.
most important? What's the least important?
Yes.
What is my actual final goal that I'm looking
Yeah.
for?
Yes. I know it's quite easy to get so bogged down with so many things that you just deal with the most urgent all the time. And you
Yeah.
forget to do, or you don't get around to doing the things that you sort of really want to do, that give you
Yeah.
the most pleasure. They get
Yeah.
put aside. Yeah.
It's always a balance.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we're about at time, so I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for joining us. It looks like Shannon already had to jump off. Uh, but I'm so glad that you guys were both able to join and talk a little bit more about everything. And make sure you guys check back on Friday to get Sue's free gift of learning how to drape that collar. We talked a little bit about it today. Always so much fun.
Well, thank you
Awesome.
very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Awesome. And remember at the very beginning, I did re-go over the leaderboard and how you guys can gain some points. I will be posting that in the group again so that you guys have something to refer back to and it's not just on all the videos. If you have any other questions, please make sure you post them in the group. That's how you can get those points so that we can make sure that you get onto that leaderboard and win some of those fabulous prizes. I also want to remind everybody that you guys have that goodie bag. So make sure you are looking through that goodie bag. You should be getting an email or it should be in the email every day. And to our VIP members, make sure you also go and look for your goodie bag that is in the course. You guys have a few extra bonus goodies in the VIP bonus goodie bag. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow for the live drafting at noon. And then again for our VIP live Q&A tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Take care, everybody.